A show based on the facts, honesty, the man, the myth, the legend, ChristiTutionalist, Joseph M. Leonard.
Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP, in association with TheLibertyBeacon.com, and I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Leonard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. I really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show! Welcome to another episode of ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast. I have with me today Joseph Rockaitis, as I'm told it's properly pronounced.
Yes,
So I'm only going to say it the one time because I'll screw it up if I attempt it again. But the reason fellow name-related Joseph is here is he created is with pan. And as I told him, I would joke, I prefer to cook with a wok, right? But my audience knows I can never pass on a lame pun. Pan as in preserve America now. So, but first, let's get the nitty gritty on you. You were born where, raised where are you now? Those sorts of things.
Sure. Born, raised, educated, worked in Chicago for most of my life, and was working for almost 32 years until I retired 3 years ago. And upon retirement, we decided to move out of Chicago, out of Cook County, which is the epicenter of everything going on wrong in this state. So we fled and went out to the northwest corner of Illinois in Whiteside County, Illinois, where Pan was founded, and the founding town here in Morrison, Illinois. And so we're about 2 hours, 25 minutes due west of Chicago and Cook County, almost 10 minutes away from the Mississippi River and the Iowa border.
Yeah, well, we can't let go the left idiocy nonsense, always pandering and race baiting and, race hustling, the identity politics. So the obligatory joke is, obviously, you're racist if you went to white side. You went to the white side, right?
There you go. Well, yeah, I understand that, but you got to remember the communists have nothing else to offer, even their own, so they're going to get into race baiting, because that's all they have is to stir up emotion, not logic, not fact, and get people motivated just from their fears and their hatred. And that's all they're based on, because that's what communism is about.
Absolutely. As I discussed on a couple other shows, I've had Kevin McGarry with Every Black Life Matters, which is a conservative, Christian-based alternative to black-lying Marxists, burn, murder crowd, right?
Yeah.
And indeed, the issue of racism is a cultural Marxist construct to begin with. We are one human race. It doesn't matter our pigment and skin tone and whatnot. We are one species. We are indeed somewhat different by subculture and subclasses based on different regions we generally preside. There are different cultural things that happen in that, but indeed, we are but one race, the human race, one species. Didn't expect to go there today yet, but hey, that's why I prefer to just hit record and we go, and whatever rabbit holes open. and at any rate, so the next obvious question is then give us a little bit more about what Preserve America Now is about, and how many chapters and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. We are officially established in about our 3-year history. We celebrated 3 years of being founded and boots on the ground 3 years ago, September of 2021. And we are now in half the country established with solid leadership and organizations being built from those state chapters in Illinois, which is a communist state, unfortunately. And I've loved my state and my origins for my whole life. And it's sad for me to say that, they have a communist state now and a communist agenda. But, in these communist areas is where Pan is being recognized and being flourishing, because when you compare where we have membership and leadership in red states, they're more comfortable because they have non-communist leadership, and they have security of knowing that, pretty much those in control are non-communists. So there's not a big reaction to anti-communism. But in these communist locations, like we do have in Washington State, very communist there. We have in California, very communist there. We do have established Pan chapters there because people are trying to cling on to something of America through what Pan offers and what we do actually. So again, we were founded 3 years ago. 5 other individuals, brave individuals, and myself came together. We looked at everything and we knew that it was beyond whatever people were, again, because we're not political. I'm only bringing up these facts because they are historical. But back in 2015, 2016, when Trump came on the scene and the powers that be at the time were trying to hate on him or were hating on him, trying to stop him even from running, all the rest of it, and watching the leadership that was elected in over the 20-year span prior to that, seeing where they were strategically placed and starting to affect the goals and future and projection of this country into the future, we came to the conclusion this is beyond Trump. It's beyond voting, politics, elections, parties. This is about an agenda. It is the socialist, Marxist, communist agenda. The reason why I would say socialist, Marxist, communist is because they kicked off everything with socialism, and that's still the buzzword more so than communism. But of course, socialism is just the doorway into communism. It's the next step. But regarding that, like I said, we're in half the country, solid leadership. We just actually opened up in the last week. We opened up with solid leadership finally in the state of Ohio, and that's been already accomplished in the last week. So we add another one to the roster because people want to do something beyond politics, beyond elections, beyond Trump, beyond whatever, because again, politics, elections, candidates have failed, especially the parties have failed the American people, have failed us. It's not the same way it was when you and I, who are older Americans, remember when you voted and it counted, and if you contributed, you can be helping the future of your own life in this country and for the life of the country itself. Well, that's not the case anymore. Voting today is almost turned on the people who are voting. And of course, we have a very low turnout for voting. Again, PAN is not political and we're not about voting. But here's what we say about voting. Regardless of what happens coming up in the next less than 30 days, as long as you vote because you want to represent to the Communist Party in this country that they have not discouraged you, they have not stifled you, they have not silenced you, they have not put you into the dark, that you are voting and representing what America really is about. And as I always tell people, win or lose in November, and of course we're all praying for the right ending with that, or the right conclusion, win or lose, what's most important is that you're representing to the American Communist Party in this country that, again, you exist. They have not gotten rid of you. They have not removed you, regardless of all the tactics they're doing to try to destroy this country. And again, when we say country, we're not talking about an abstract name or notion. We are the country. Mr. Leonard, you are the country. I'm the country. Your listeners and followers are the country. Every American in front of you that you see every day in whatever mode is the country. It's not just a landmass. So whatever they're doing to the country, these American communists are doing to us. And I take that personal because they're doing it and affecting my life. in whatever way they can to make my life as un-American as possible. And I do take that personal.
Yeah,
I do take what they're doing personal.
Couple of things that you kind of set off in my mind. First is I call them fascocrats on the left, but as you alluded, you kind of in the same mindset as me. It's a commie fasci soci's blend. It's not like the 1930s anymore. They're all basically one and the same, with only minor differences in how they accomplish the same anti-Western goal: destruction of I can't talk. Destruction of the West. And we the people, and why Franklin said a republic if you can keep it, which leads me to, you're not a big R Republican organization. You are a small R Republican organization. The Republic, Republican, small R, not the party affiliation. Because, and I'm glad you're growing. We need you in every 50 states because, as I've said over and over, I fight CINOs and rhinos every bit as much as I do the fascocrats. So while there may be some, like you said, you're in red states, that doesn't mean it's still really a fully constitutional state, correct?
That's right. But they're more comfortable there. So that's why the activity is not, keeping up pace with the other communist controlled states that we have right now. And just to mention a few things, yes, we are about the republic. Preserve America Now is about preserving America now, literally the life that we know, the history that we know, the future that we're expecting. It's about preserving all of that. And when we were created, we knew we were dealing with the communists. We knew we were dealing with a communist agenda. We knew, because we're intelligent, educated people who know about communism beyond just, the blurbs that you get in whatever manner you get them. None of us are a professor of communism, but we knew about communism and how it has started to infiltrate. Here's the long story of the short. Communism is here, and the pandemic was the introduction to it, to just see what Americans would respond to, what they would fall for, what they would go along with, about all their, quote, policies and mandates and everything else they were trying to push. Again, it wasn't even about the virus. It wasn't about even killing people. It was about seeing who was going to comply very easily by threats and unknown information and confusion, that they would just comply.
Yeah, I have a whole show dedicated to the left, the commie fasci socialist blend, right, as coined long ago. The issue is never the issue. It's only used to gain power and control, to push what they can see they can get away with for more power and control of them. And of course, we mean at state level too, but what they can upload to federal, at what I call fascia federalism now, right? The federal fascists of today, the fascia I still cannot talk. The fascia federalists of today would not be recognized by the federalists before, but still, the federalists pushed even then for more federal power and control. That's why they're called the Federalists. But they were the ones who wanted to supplant the Articles of Confederation. And no, morons on the left, we're not talking about your Democrat Confederate states. We're talking the Articles of Confederation that came before our current Constitution. The Federalists pushed for more power at a federal level, and the Anti-Federalists fought that, and they came to the compromise that is our current Constitution. And ever since then, the Federalists, the left, have been trying to subvert state rights and get more power out of D.C. I want to ask you, have you seen the First Liberty ads called The Supreme Coup, about the left wanting to try, like FDR wasn't able to do, to pack with liberal activist judges the court so that it can rubber stamp everything that the left wants. And like you said, this was about before Trump. This is about after Trump. This has nothing to do with Trump per se and the Kamalunist, as I call her. The people may change. The issues remain the same, yes?
Okay, on a few points, yes, that is factually correct. Regarding this, yes, Trump said from the beginning, and again, I'm only speaking in historical terms because PAN is not political at all. We don't take sides. We don't care who you vote for because that is your personal constitutional right to vote as your conscience dictates. However, when it comes to Trump, he is the poster boy for what they want to do to America. Whatever they've done to him so far is what they want to do to the rest of us. And all they were doing is saying, if we can do this at that time to a sitting president and legally sitting president, and if we can do this to a former legally sitting president, guess what we can do to you? Okay, so this is an introduction to communism. Right now, we are in communism. We're in communism that it's just being felt through this country. If this election goes the wrong way, regardless of who you're voting for or why, there's two sides of things to everything in this country now, okay? It is no longer liberal and conservative. It's no longer Republican, Democrat, which are just the machines by which they use to get power. It is no longer left and right. We're beyond that. That's old school. That's behind us. We are now between communist and non-communist, okay? And PAN and those of PAN are non-communist, but one step further, we take it. We are the ones who are activated with the anti-communist movement that has begun in this country once people have become aware that this is communism and continue to do so. Again, Trump is on the non-communist side, and the rest of them that he is competing with are on the communist side. So in November, we're going to know what the next event is to where it's going to be taking this country into deeper communism, where communism eventually will be the law of the land, where right now it's just their experiment. It's just their imposition upon us just to give us a taste of it. So it's not official. But if that other party does come in, and again, we're not taking sides or parties, but it's fact. If those others that are competing for the presidency come in, we go into real communism. It becomes the law of the land. Right now,
again,
it's not the law of the land.
You're speaking in generality, small letter P party, groups of people.
Yes.
Yes, collectively.
Yes.
A properly used term there, because they are collectivists trying to destroy individualism, our personal rights and freedoms, and institute collectivist communists, because I say on the show all the time, community is biblical. That is you and I and our free will coming together by choice, and like It's a Wonderful Life. Remember the movie, The Savings and Loan? Today it's credit unions. That is micro-communism. That is not really, I hate to use that word, but it's really community. We all come together voluntarily as a group to benefit ourselves and others in the group. But communism is force, is theft. There's no free will, no individualism, no personal rights. It's all, and as I've talked about, I will link in the show, the Bradford colony. People don't want history taught. We had communism on this continent. The Bradford colony failed, almost all starved to death, because the Mayflower Compact, they won't teach you in school, is a communist collective document. And Bradford had to throw that out. It failed and instituted personal property and individual rights, not collective rights. And as they say, the rest is history. America went on to be founded on those principles. And back to what you were saying, Ronald Reagan used to say, and I agree with him on this, right? Don't come to me with left, right. Don't come to me with Republican, Democrat. Come to me with up, down, right? What lifts up the people. We, the people. What further empowers the people rather than what will empower the state? And by state, of course, I don't mean state as in the state of Michigan. I mean statists and statism in general, right?
Yes,
We're talking an up-down paradigm. What lifts up the people, or conversely, communistically, what lifts up and empowers ruling elites?
That is correct. No, you are factually correct further. And again, myself and the other 5 founders saw what the big picture was. We knew it was beyond politics and Trump. We knew it was an agenda that's been in place to try to destroy this country, burn it to the ground, scorched earth, so they can actually try to create their communist utopia. And again, we're not involved in conspiracy theory. We're not far anything because we're not political. We do not follow political ideology. We do not take sides. But we have to mention current events and historical events would have brought us to this point. And again, what we're talking about is our fate is going to be sealed. We do not believe that is Pan with this election coming up, but we do believe that it's just another very, very important, notable event in the series of events that will take us in one direction or the other with this country, because this election coming up is not going to absolutely confirm communism. It's going to be another major event that people better be aware of what they're doing and how they're doing it. It's just like owning a firearm, a weapon. If you misuse it, it could actually kill you or harm you if you don't know what you're doing correctly. Well, that's the same thing with your vote. If you don't know what you're doing with your vote and who you're voting for and why, it can come back to kill you or maim you or haunt you. So you have to be just as educated about voting in those terms as you do carrying a weapon.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Wham Radio, 1600 AM and 92.7 FM is your conservative flamethrower. Weekdays, Steve Gruber starts things off at 6 a.m. Gruber gives his perspective on the issues of the day. At 9 a.m., Glenn Beck blazes the airwaves with his nationally syndicated program. From noon to 3, it's Dennis Prager. At 3 o'clock, it's Wham's own Thayrone X. On the Edge, Thayrone tells it exactly as he sees it. At 6, it's The Dana Show, your conservative alternative. At 8, don't miss Joe Pags. Weekends are filled with conservative talk as well. Fingers Malloy, Thomas LeDuc, The Abolitionists Roundtable, A Moment of Clarity with Pastor Rick, Your American Heritage with Ed Bondarenka, Dave Janda's Operation Freedom, and Dick Kupke's Trigger Talk. You can even get links to Wham podcasts from Dave, Dick, and of course Thayrone, all from their pages on our website, whamradio.com. Keep it locked on Wham Radio, 1600 AM and 92.7 FM in southeastern Michigan, and whamradio.com anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I dare say now Pan is conservative, is constitutional. I dare add ChristiTutionalist. You are a godly organization, yes?
Okay, well, let me just say this again, and I have to make some corrections for you. So that we knew when we created PAN, we knew we knew about this enemy, the communist enemy. We knew it from their history. And what did they do? They targeted anything or anyone politically opposed to them. They targeted and still do anything that's ideologically opposed to them, which is any religion, especially the Christian religion, directly opposes it. So we do not declare ourselves at all as a faith-based group whatsoever. We do not declare ourselves at all as a political group or a politically leaning group or a conservative group. None of those labels, because we are under the law of the communist state of Illinois. We are, of course, proudly and very happily registered as an education non-for-profit corporation because we're under their radar. We are not going after their politics or their candidates. We are not going after their belief, which is, again, communism is a religion. It is not political. People mistake that it's political because it's used politically, or that it's a militant thing, but it's applied with the military or by force. People confuse that. Communism is an evil religion. It's an evil ideology. It's anti-human, anti-American, anti-freedom, anti-God, or anything else that you believe in. It's only about them and the state. That is their religion. And these fanatics that are out there right now trying to kill the leading opponent twice, the riots that they do and the resistance that they do to the Constitution, That's because these are their followers. These are the ones who believe in communism. It's their religion. So you and me, not as whatever your politics is, whether you're GOP or Trump or conservative or right-leaning or whatever you want to call yourself, it's not because of any of those things that are part of our life. It is because we are heretics to them. And in the history of the world, what have they done with heretics? Well, you know what the fate of heretics are. So they want to get rid of people like you and me and other Americans who support and defend the Constitution and our rights and who we are as a people. And again, they want to replace all of that with their communism, with their ultimate goal. And again, we're not conspiracy theorists. We don't have time for that. We just don't concentrate on that because that has nothing to do with the reality of what we're facing here. That eventually the goal of communism in this world is to take down America, which is the only one who's standing up between freedom in the world and communism taking it over globally. And these globalists, I don't care what you call them, I don't care what fancy names they come up with, I don't care if it sounds like conspiracy theory. Ultimately, those who are in charge outside of the United States, they do want to take down this country for one reason, not necessarily because they hate it, because it's a tool for them. If they take us down and go into socialist Marxist communism, for sure, lawfully, then the rest of the free world will fall and it will go into a global system of communism. There is no world order and all the rest of it. Those are terms that they use to make it sound nice, to make it sound like they're doing something for the benefit of man. It is a communist global system that they want to implement. And again, they don't need everyone here. That's why they want to kill off the ones that they don't need. They want to keep the ones that they can enslave and be of any value to them. And so that means population reduction as well, because they want to take care of a controlled group. They do not want to have billions and billions of people running loose in this world in their communist worldwide system.
Right,
they want to have a group that they can control.
Billions of people with free will are a threat to those who want to be God. They want to replace God. You're right. Decades ago, I wrote an article about religion. They want not separation of church and state. They want separation from church to state. But I have to correct that a bit because I agree with Dennis Prager. I can be wrong at times, and I was. There is a difference between liberal and leftist, because there are still some classical liberals like a Brandon Strzok, a Candace Owens, a Leo Terrell, even David Horowitz has left the Democrat Party. They've gone to communist for him. He's still very much a liberal. So, but a classical liberal, you can still reach. An ultra idealistic commie fasci soci blend ultra leftist, you will never ever be able to reach. And that's in part what your group is out to reach. Those classical liberals who still believe in free speech that's under assault and things like that. Yes?
Okay. Yes, and with a clarification. Right now, our main goal right now is to unite anti-communists who are part of the non-communist part of America. And let me differentiate. Just because you're against communism, just because you may even know everything about communism, just because you oppose communism and you know how evil it is and destructive and non-human it is, that's all well and good. But if you are not united with other anti-communist, committed, active Americans, you are not part of the anti-communist movement. That doesn't make you an anti-communist. What you do is what makes you an anti-communist. If you are against communism and you're not one of them, you're a non-communist. But it is from the non-communist side left in this country that we are pulling out our anti-communists who are uniting shoulder to shoulder in this fight to go up against this agenda, small p politically, economically, and culturally. Because where does culture come from? Culture comes from influence, from what is in their mind and hearts of the people. And this started off a long time ago. And of course, what is downstream from culture is our politics.
Yeah. Again, yes. Classical liberals would tend to generally be on the left, but they can be reached. Like you're saying, it's not what you say, but what you do. Like the show, Christianity shall be known by your fruits, your actions. There are a lot of people out there who can talk a good game, but they're useful idiots still for
yes.
the commie
Yes.
fasci socialist
Yes.
blend.
Yes.
Where you were going with that in a nutshell.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. There's plenty of useful idiots out there. And here's what's really amazing. Okay. Again, we're not taking sides. We don't have to defend Trump because he can defend himself literally. But did they think in their best judgment with the best thinking people on their side, the most educated people, did they think that if they took out Donald Trump, that somehow the other side of America, the non-communists, were going to just fold and say it's over and it's done and it's finished? Matter of fact, I mean, they were so blind to want to even attempt it to say they don't even realize what they would unleash upon themselves if
Martyr.
Martyr.
To put it back in religious terms, they would have just made a martyr of them, and it would have grown the movement even more. So
it's not going to stop the non-communist side of this country.
Right.
It's going to inflame them more if it did anything.
Yep. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. I know the website, but where do people reach out to find the walkers? I mean, the panners.
I understand. And again, PAN is an acronym, P.A.N. Preserve America Now. It's not the deviant sexual god PAN. And we've had some of the communists trying to play with that with us.
Of course.
They can definitely go to www.pan, P-A-N, for F-O-R, all, A-L-L.org, O-R-G. And they can look it up and check out the homepage. I'm sure they'll agree with it. It's like less than a 2-minute read. And then they can contact us by email, info@panforall.org, or they can call us directly on the PAN national number, which is 773-507-3000, and tell us where they are, and we can let them know how they can plug into an existing state chapter where they're located. Or if we are not open in that state, we would like to have any serious patriots who want to stand for this republic, regardless of the results in November. Because remember one thing, even if things go, quote, right with the non-communist side election in November, they're gonna ramp up their reaction to it. They're going to be like rabid animals in a cage, and they're going to be pulling everything that they can. So even more PAN will be needed as a reaction to what they're going to do. So again, www.panforall.org. Call us 773-507-3000, and we'd like to plug you into an existing state chapter where you are, or if there isn't, we would like to get a serious committed patriot involved with us there so we can open up another.
And of course, I asked that to officially get it in the video and audio record, but of course it will be in the show notes also listed there. So thank you, Joseph, for coming on. Appreciate it. You take care. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard, and thank Mr. Peterson for connecting us. I really appreciate it. He's a fine patriot and a consummate author. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. This is a special tack-on segment for a couple of shows to let you know about some August, September, October, potentially out into November shows. If you're looking behind the scenes, you can see I've got my I Remember Never Forget 9/11 shirt on and the 9/11 background, since we're going to be talking about things that will drop over September, October, this being August when I'm recording. And Hadassah Troy will be on, and she talks about how painful experiences become the birthplace of blessings. That's her book. How does Garth Brooks, I'm getting dyslexic with his name. How does Garth Brooks' Unanswered Prayers song relate? Hope you'll tune in to find out, as well as Star Trek V, the movie. How does that relate? I hope these little teases mean you'll tune in when it drops, or depending on where this additional segment gets tacked on, may have already dropped in August, so please check it out. Another August drop will be David Shine, holding up the note there. David Shine is the best-selling author of Bad Deal for America and The Decline of America, 100 Years of Leadership Failures. Obvious tie-in to the politics part of the ChristiTutionalist Politics podcast show. And in September, or going forward, loosely planned for September, October timeframe, M.H. Ulrich comes on, and we talk also, not another movie reference in there, but I hope you'll check in to find out how the discussion with her brings up C.S. Lewis, but Star Trek again, right? Likely 2 episodes in a row or an episode apart. This time, Star Trek, the original series, an episode called Parallel. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the old series, they go to a planet and they worship the sun. They assume it's S-U-N, the sun above. But as you get to the end, you find out it is Christ having visited another planet, the Son of God on another planet, which is really kind of blows my mind, knowing that Gene Roddenberry was an atheist, that such an episode would have even been remotely allowed and considered. But, I want to give him credit. There were a wide variety of topics covered by that show. So please tune in to the M.H. Ulrich episode to find out how that Star Trek episode factors in. If you recall, if you've been with me a long time, last year, 9/11, I had on my friend from Wham Radio, Your American Heritage Show, Ed Bondarenka. I plan for now that the episode again will drop a new one, not a repeat, a new one on 9/11 with Ed Bondarenka. But it is not, while we'll touch on that somber Remembrance Day, it is not a show dedicated to that. But I just thought that was a logical day time frame to have him back on, since he was on last 9/11. Leslie Hall. Now think Leslie Nielsen. By Leslie, we're talking a male here. Leslie Hall, and a great conversation with him. And we talk MLK in there, and we talk about addiction. So that's an important show. I hope you'll tune in. We need a youth perspective, so I've got a couple coming up. Christopher Armstrong Stevenson, a young man, a high schooler, will be on so that we could talk a youth perspective. A Zoomer to Boomer. I use that term advisedly. You'll see why a little later. Eddie Yuda Man. Man with 2 N's, though, but you know me, I can't pass the lame pun, so I call him Eddie Yuda Man will be on. He's a Christian music singer-songwriter. I'm going to have a few of them on, so I hope you'll tune in for that. William R. Douglas, I'm holding up to the camera my notes from that. The Sum of All Our Anger, Civil War 2.0 book cover. You can see if you're looking behind the scenes, obviously, with all that's going on. And my friend Michael Gardner, a.k.a. Savage, who wrote the book, America's Political Battle, a current civil war in terms of a cold civil war. We're in a battle. We're in a civil war. It's just not shooting at each other yet. Whereas William, his book goes into the what if it turns hot. over the next few years. His, like my Terror Strikes book, is historical fiction. There is some fact, some fiction that lends credence to the fact that these issues boil over, may lead to a hot civil war. Another singer-songwriter, Richard Lynch, will be on. We will be mentioning a few, Barry Gibb, Conway Twitty. Tune in to find how they factor into that episode. Christine Sposato. Hey, we're both Italiano, so we joke Italian desserts. But seriously, you've heard me talk about conservatives being censored on school campuses, and she indeed created a group, studentvoicessilence.com, so we will talk further about that. Another singer-songwriter, Robert Ross, will be on. If you don't have to like country, you shouldn't have to like country to tune in. But if you are a country fan, obviously you really want to tune in to find out how and why Freddie Fender, David Allan Coe get mentioned in the episode, as well as I lost my place. Looking, Conway Twitty again, George Jones, and Vern Gosden. He brought that name up. That was a name I hadn't heard in a long time, so please tune in for that. Robert Boog. Ever since I was in high school, we heard the rumor and conspiracy theory that William Shakespeare didn't write his stuff. I venture into that discussion with Robert Boog. James Gebhardt is on, and in Who is Babysitting Whom, we've talked about honor your mother and father, right? Who is the parent? The left wants your children to be wards of the state. This is why they hate and want to destroy Christianity. That honor your mother and father part is in the way of their turning all children of the nation into wards of the fascistic state. Remember, I've talked before, Hitlery and the warping of It Takes a Village, which is biblical, not Hitlery's It Takes the Fascistic State warped version of it. Michelle Jewsbury, if you remember, I had Trent Brock on in the past. He has a chapter in a book about survivors, hardships in life. Michelle Jewsbury has got a volume 1 out, volume 2, 3, 4 will be coming, collections of survivors of hardships, so people know they are not alone. And indeed, there may be, hopefully is, they're not alone, there is help, there can be light at the end of the tunnel or around the corner. I mentioned Zoomers to Boomers. If you see behind the scene there, you see a little logo there, Zoomers to Boomer. Roger Landry of the Liberty Beacon Project, again, I write for thelibertybeacon.com. I am on TLB Talk. That's all part of the TLB Project. He's founder of that. He has a show with a young lady, not going to turn 18 soon, but not yet. So a young lady, hence Zoomers to Boomers. They have a show together. So again, we get that youth perspective here that's much needed. And lastly, I'm going to mention Luann Hunt, another singer-songwriter. If you're at all a Patsy Cline fan, or your parents or your grandparents were a Patsy Cline fan, you want to turn into I cannot talk. You want to tune into that show to see how Patsy Cline has factored into Luann Hunt's life. And Patsy Cline kind of lives on now through Luann Hunt. Thank you all. Just wanted to give you a brief sneak peek at coming midweek Wednesday guest appearance drops. Take care. God bless. Thank you for having tuned in for ChristiTutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via terrorstrikes.info/shop. Be sure to check out more about today's discussion at thelibertybeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high-production items will come, but for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff, no fancy high-production intro or inserts, at least yet, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help.
It is a myth that terrorism stopped during COVID. Unfortunately, mainstream media opted to prioritize pandemic hysteria over promoting all news. Terrorism continues. Simply hoping that it doesn't affect you is not a strategy. The new book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, featured on The Author Show, is now available in paperback from bookstores, online, or as an ebook exclusively through Amazon Kindle. Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you by Joseph M. Leonard. Order today.